Hello again. Today is Thursday, September the 11th, 2014, and it's about 6:30 my time. The title of this video, amazingly, is Tell Me Why. I tried to avoid looking at 9/11 coverage today. Today, as you know, is the 13th anniversary of one of the worst attacks on American soil and Americans, period, since Pearl Harbor. One of the worst false flag operations in the sense of inflicting the United States government, inflicting pain and suffering and allowing pain and suffering to be inflicted upon we the people in order to control us that much more. And when I say control, I mean the more and more stripping away of our human rights, our civil rights, our basic inalienable rights, such as the right to life, the right to liberty or freedom, and the right to be happy. And to an unwritten right, really, except for the 4th and 10th Amendments, of course, the United States Constitution, forgive me, well, I say Constitution because there was constitutional conventions, but and the last one that we had was in 1789, but that's for another time. But inflicting, in the sense of taking away and infringing, if you will, on our houses, our personages, our effects, our papers, etc. According to those amendments, we're supposed to be secure in that. The government is supposed to keep us secure in that sense. We're supposed to be able to come and go and buy and sell and trade as free and equal American citizens, as free citizens of this world. We're supposed to be able to come and go and buy and sell and trade freely. But on the morning of Tuesday, 11 September 2001, that changed. All of that was thrown out the window the day those planes, those two planes, hit the World Trade Center, hit the Pentagon, and ultimately fell headlong into a common hayfield in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. I was looking this evening on this evening's news on MSNBC, the opening for Hardball with Chris Matthews. He, of course, opened up with President Obama's speech today at the Pentagon. And I was particularly struck, and this is the basis for this video this evening, I was particularly struck with President Obama's comments concerning the 9/11 hijackers. How small-minded they were, how ideologically driven that they were, how fanatical that they were. And I posed this question to my wife, and my wife answered it. But I'm still not satisfied with the answer. And I said to her, and I said more or less to President Obama through the TV, if these individuals, how then, tell me, how can 19 individuals who are so small-minded and so narrow-minded, and to hear it told and to have it said by the powers that be in New York and Washington, Muhammad Atta and company, they had little to no education, no kind of drive, no kind of purpose, until they got hooked up with Osama bin Laden and Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri, etc., 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 and ultimately radical Islam, quote unquote. That they had no purpose, no drive, very little education, etc. How then, tell me please, 19, nearly 20 individuals could take box cutters and hijack intercontinental aircrafts loaded to capacity with fuel, mind you, could travel halfway around the world before they would ever have to refuel again. Hint, hint, if I'm a hijacker and I've hijacked a plane, one of the last things I'm going to want to do is crash it headlong into a building. I'm going to want to find the nearest country with little to no extradition and a long white sandy beach on its front and some beautiful lush green jungle on its back and a pretty island girl, and I'm going to want to spend the rest of my days going nanny nanny boo boo, stick your head in doo doo, you can't catch me, okay? That's what I'm going to want to do. But no, these 19 individuals with little to no education, little to no drive, little to no determination, no kind of forethought insight until they got hooked up with Osama bin Laden and Dr. Zacharias Ayman al-Zawahiri, forgive me. How then could these individuals, these no-names, these lowlifes, these whatevers, hijack these aircrafts and crash them headlong into the World Trade Center towers, into the Pentagon, and ultimately into a common hayfield in Shanksville, Pennsylvania? If they have little to no education, if they're know-nothings, if they're small-minded, narrow-minded, no kind of ideology, no kind of determination, no-nothings, nobodies. How then? My wife tells me that it's all in communication. My wife, by the way, is an African American. Our President, Barack Obama, is an African American himself. God bless her. God bless President Obama. I'm not trying to besmirch my wife, besmirch President Obama. I'm just going on logic. She says it's all in communication. That what President Obama really and truly meant was, and his comments were directed to former President George W. Bush and his administration. I've stated before, publicly and privately here on this forum and other forums, that I was a longtime Republican and that I worked to get George W. Bush and Richard B. Cheney in office. Doubly hard, particularly here in Kentucky, where I'm from. I worked with all my heart, all my mind, all my soul to get George W. Bush elected. I brought him Kentucky, or at least I was one of the ones that helped bring Kentucky to him. Not that he needed any help. Kentucky's a fairly red state. Republicans 9 times out of 10 are going to win. But the point is that I helped get him elected. I helped get him up there so that Dick Cheney, and ultimately that's because that's the way the quote-unquote establishment wants it to be billed as, Dick Cheney cooked the books and convinced George W. Bush to start this false flag operation in 9/11. That those comments were directed to them. Question. Those comments then are directed to George W. Bush and his administration. Why hasn't Barack H. Obama II and the Honorable arrested George W. Bush and his administration? I'll tell you why. Just like I told my wife. It is because Barack H. Obama II and the Honorable is beholden to the Rothschild, Rockefeller, military and industrialist complex police state in this country, here in the United States of America, and around the world. Were it not for the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and the military industrialist complex and the police state, we, I believe, would have a better and far greater society. Period. Full stop. There would be no question, there would be no rhyme, there would be no reason, there would be no cause for civil or even uncivil discourse. They wouldn't. But because Barack H. Obama II and the Honorable is beholden to the Rothschild, Rockefeller, military-industrialist complex police state, because that's who ultimately got him into office, he stopped short time immemorial for saying that I'm going to have my United States Attorney General swear out a warrant for the arrest of the George W. Bush administration, right on up to and including George W. Bush himself. Then you couple that with a willing Congress led by one Republican congressman named Trey Gowdy from South Carolina, who in 2009, shortly right after George W. Bush and company officially left office, got signed into law, helped get passed and signed into law eventually, the Presidential Protection Act, or H.R. 2260. Basically, long story short, Eric Holder, the United States Attorney General, writes a formal letter, a formal public letter to Barack H. Obama II and the Honorable, to tell him, quote unquote, in no uncertain terms, that an Iraqi national in the state of California and the city of San Francisco is trying to sue George W. Bush for war crimes. This happened starting in 2009, late 2009, early 2010. And that he needed to, quote unquote, do something about it, in the sense that he needed to protect, he needed to insulate and isolate and secure George W. Bush and Richard B. Cheney and company from war crimes and from being sued for war crimes. This Iraqi national, you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but I'll link the necessary articles and everything. They're well documented and easy to find, but I'll go ahead and link them in the description section of this video when I'm done. This woman tries to sue in court. She works her way up and works her way down, federal, state, and local court, and back through again, twice over. Tries to sue the George W. Bush administration for war crimes. President Obama acts. He gets the Congress to act, in fact. And in particular, one congressman for the state of South Carolina is genuinely and dynamically interested in helping him to protect the George W. Bush administration, while at the same time now, in time immemorial, pursuing him for what he, quote unquote, thinks are conspiracy theories with the Benghazi situation. And there are. There are a lot of conspiracy theories concerning and surrounding Benghazi, Libya, where 4 United States Americans were killed in cold blood. You say, well, Reagan allowed the Marine barracks and the United States Embassy in Beirut to be bombed, and over 400 Marines were killed in the 1980s, and blah, 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 blah. Nothing new under the sun. Especially when it comes to presidents and presidential power, because as we know, that led up to, or was a catalyst to, the Iran-Contra affair. And we all know how that played out. But getting back to my original point, Barack Obama reaches out to the Congress by letter to say that there's an issue here, that an Iraqi woman, an Iraqi national who sought political asylum here in the United States, who fled her country during the height of the war in Iraq, came to the United States with her family, her children, settled in San Francisco in the state of California, and she's trying to sue the George W. Bush administration for basically what amounts to hardship. Can't have that. Can't have that, because if, God forbid, there should be a trial, things will come out that have no business coming out. Whether it's about 9/11, whether it's about the run-ups to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, whether it's about yellow cake, whether it's about whatever. Can't have that. So we've got to stop that butt cold in its tracks. Enter Trey Gowdy. Roy Trey Gowdy. Enter Roy William Trey Gowdy, the third. South Carolina Republican. And he stands up, he goes to the well of the United States Congress and he says, we need presidential protection because past presidents and future presidents are living longer and longer and longer, and their families are living longer and longer, and they need presidential protection. They need extensive Secret Service protection. Enter the Presidential Protection Act, 2010, HR House Resolution 2260. My God. Which basically states that as long as a past president and his family are alive, henceforth they shall be protected by the United States Secret Service now and forevermore. Until the time they expire, from the time they leave office until the time that they expire, for this life to the next, they will be protected by the United States Secret Service in any shape, form, or capacity. Then, while he's at it, and this is the rub, folks, he re-ups the ante on something called the Westfall Act. It amounts to federal tort reform. It says, the Westfall Act says that a federal employee cannot be sued for any kind of wrongful issue. That they cannot be arrested, tried, held over for trial in a court, charged, convicted, etc. They can't. And this federal employee, up to and including the guy or the gal that sweeps and mops the floor in the United States Capitol, right on up to the President of the United States of America, cannot be sued for any reason whatsoever. Especially if the guy or the gal that sweeps and mops the floor in the United States Capitol, somebody should slip, trip, or fall in their wet floor that they just mopped. They can't be sued. They fall, some old lady from Iowa falls and breaks the hip. She can't sue. She can't sue. She has to take it on the chin. God bless her. She broke her hip. That's tough. Sorry to hear about that. Here's some trinkets from the Capitol Hill gift shop. Here's some passes to the next public speaking event. Shut up, go away. That's all you're going to get from us. We don't even have to pay your medical bills. If you get hurt, if you get shot, God forbid, whatever, anything happens to you and a federal employee is involved in some kind of way, they can't be sued. So Trey Gowdy takes the Presidential Protection Act and he re-ups the ante, doubles down on the Westfall Act and strengthens that. It gets zipped through both houses of Congress and immediately sent to the President of the United States desk, Barack H. Obama II and the Honorable, and he signs it into law. Signed, sealed, delivered. Done. So with these two acts and with the Holder letter, George W. Bush and company are protected. There's no issue, there's no rhyme, there's no reason, there's no concern. That's just your tough luck, lady. Sorry you got displaced, sorry your family got displaced, but look, that's not our fault, that's not George W. Bush's fault. War is hell, just grin, bear it, be happy that you're a United States citizen, and spend the rest of your days here, and just keep your mouth shut. As much as told a woman to keep her mouth shut. Don't you say a word publicly or privately or any other kind of way about anything that's gone on here. You keep your mouth shut. You take it on the chin. Sorry about that. Sorry about your hands. Sorry about your lot in life. But hey, you've got citizenship for the rest of your days. So what do you got to complain about? Of course, the woman was pissed, and rightfully so. But so far and to date, she's kept her mouth shut. And I don't know if the government offered to pay for her attorney's fees or whatever. I don't know the exact extenuating circumstances. I'm sure Eric Holder did. I'm sure he slipped her some money. Maybe even Barack Obama himself. He's been known to do that from time to time since he's been in office. Slip somebody $100 check here, or $1,000 check there, or $500 check here, or $50 check there, and that's great and fine and wonderful and nice. So I'm sure somebody slipped her a little money to help her pay for her legal bills. But she's gone the way of the dodo bird, quote unquote. But getting back, how is that possible? If these individuals have no education, no drive, no determination until the day that they met and fell madly and passionately in love with Osama bin Laden and Dr. Ayman Zawahiri and basically radical Islam, quote unquote. They had no drive, no determination, no formal education. They were nothings. They were nobodies. Muhammad Atta and company. Zion Jaram, Muhammad Atta, nothing. If these quote-unquote uneducated people, how are they able to obtain a rough pilot's license, basically? You have to have a formal education to get a pilot's license. Hell's bells, you have to have a formal education to get a driver's license in the United States of America. I mean, come on. What kind of fools does Barack H. Obama II and the Honorable, respectfully, what kind of fools does he take us for? Especially me and my wife, God bless her. And I realized that she was trying to communicate how the African American community communicates, and that's fine and great and wonderful, and I'm appreciative of that. But tell me how. Tell me again how these 19, nearly 20 individuals could do this if they have no education, no drive, no determination, unless and until they got hooked up with Osama bin Laden and company. False flag, folks. False flag. Designed to go into war. I think about the Why We Did It program that Rachel Maddow did here not too long ago over MSNBC, and the line from the older gentleman, I can't think of his name right now, his name escapes me, but he says, and I quote, "We didn't go into Iraq for the sand," end quote, close quote. No, we didn't, boss. We went into Iraq for the oil, the water, the gold, the silver, and the lithium. Did you know that the Middle East, and in particular Iraq and Syria and Iran, is teeming to overflowing with lithium? And lithium is used to make cell phone batteries. Wonderful little cell phone batteries. And the government, they monitor us on our little cell phones right here and our other little communication devices through the battery and satellite systems. The lithium that's used to make up the batteries that go into cell phones, that go into computers, that go in the ATMs, that go in the desk lamps, etc., etc., etc. And we've got all that now. We've collected all that. Saddam Hussein, he's gone the way of the dodo bird. He's out. He's done. So we've got access to that. And Blackwater and Halliburton and Eli Lilly and Merck and GlaxoSmithKline and the CIA and the NSA and the ATF, they've all been in through there. And they've combed that place twice over, and they're still combing it. For money, for gold, for silver. Hell's bells, they don't even have all of Saddam Hussein's money. Over a decade later, they still haven't found all of Saddam Hussein's caches of supposed weapons and money and homes and cars, etc. They still haven't recovered all of it because it was such a vast fortune doled out to him by the CIA, by the military-industrial complex, by the Rothschild and the Rockefeller families. You can't count it. Can't add up. It's an impossibility. But yet, still in all, 19, almost 20 people with little to no education, no drive, no determination, they set the wheels in motion on the morning of Tuesday, 11 September 2001. And that's it, and that's all. Case closed. Be nice to Muslims, etc. And the religion of Islam. And I don't misunderstand me. Don't get me wrong. I respect all religion. How you choose to worship or not worship the God of your choice is your business. I could care less. I could care less. Doesn't matter. But to said and to say with one good eye and straight face that it's just whatever is for crap. It's a false flag. So tell me again, Barack H. Obama II and the Honorable, how 19 men with little to no education, no drive, no determination could hijack intercontinental aircrafts and slam them headlong into 3 buildings and into an uncommon hayfield in the middle of Shanksville Township, Pennsylvania. How is that possible again? I'm waiting, and the rest of the world is waiting for an answer. Thank you.